In this Monster Hunter Wilds Getting Started guide, we'll go over many tips and tricks to make your experience with the game smoother and ensure you have a swift progression to high rank. Whether you're a new or returning player, this video will help you understand the mechanics, controls, and progression of Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds fans will be familiar with this series' gameplay loop, but Wilds makes some critical changes due to the introduction of a dynamic real-time map where everything is happening at once across all regions of the game, and you have to pick what you want to respond to. This can become overwhelming as you aren't sure what you should be doing and you're spammed with notifications. In this guide, I'll help you navigate this confusion and optimize your approach so you can enjoy the gameplay loop to its fullest, taking advantage of all of the things I have learned in my 200 hours with the game. There are of course mechanic spoilers in this guide, but the endgame section is at the very end of this video, so you can just skip it if you don't want to know. I won't be revealing the last boss or anything like that in that section, but still, if you don't want to see it, just don't watch the end of the video. The first thing you want to do if you're a new player is figure out what weapon you want to main. This time around, your mount will give you an option for a second weapon, so you can swap back and forth when mounted by pressing right on the D-pad. In the old games, this would not have worked because your armor would have specific skills that boost your performance with a specific weapon. This is no longer the case, as now armor has defensive style skills, while weapons in Wild have offensive skills built in. So, you can now efficiently use the same armor for, let's say, longsword and bow, for example. To select your main weapon, I recommend you check out our series of guides that explain and showcase the movesets and gameplay of each category. These are 14 dedicated articles and videos you can find on our channel and website, so I won't try to repeat all that here as it's too much. In general though, most people would opt to have one ranged and one melee option, but it's not uncommon to want to have a primary weapon with one element and a secondary weapon of the same type with a different one. I settled on a dragon element longsword as my main with a backup water element weapon, based on the monsters I was hunting the most. When you pick your category, the next step is to select which weapon of that category you should create, and it can become really overwhelming as all the trees are marked with question marks at first. You can see all materials and completed trees on the Fextra Life Monster Hunter Wilds wiki if you want spoilers, or you can simply follow the rule of simple as I call it. Make ore or bone and upgrade that only as you go. I'll touch on how to progress through the tree a little bit later, and you can skip to the progression section via chapters if you want. Otherwise, let's talk about setting yourself up with options and familiarizing yourself with controls. Monster Hunter Wilds has a huge amount of game options, including changing the way focus strikes work, pathing for your secret, and the UI size. I strongly recommend you spend the time customizing this to your liking, as it can make a big difference for the clutter on your screen, and it can also affect your gameplay significantly. Auto-sheath your weapon or not can make a big difference in how your combat feels, for example. Since font size and UI size settings or the like are personal preference, the one thing I'll absolutely recommend you do is go to audio, scroll down to feline language, and make sure it's on feline language and not the voice set type abomination. Other options to consider turning on under game settings are fix minimap rotation, fix the detailed map so it doesn't keep going around and confusing you, decide if you want to show your head armor and weapon at all during cutscenes, it's under game settings page 3. Change your hunter obscured visibility to improve camera angle problems against big monsters and rocks. If you're having trouble, change this to red. Hide other secrets if you want to play multiplayer and not be confused by all of their mounts. Disable secret auto explore mode so if you call your mount, it doesn't just start running without a set pin. Set NPC hunter preferences on page 3. Test out if you prefer to see base damage without fancy calculations for your weapon selection. This is probably for pro users only. Change aim/focus mode to toggle instead of press and hold if you want. This is particularly good for insect glaive users. Camera speed and sensitivity if you're getting motion sick, and put your camera distance to 10 to see more of the game. The next thing you should do after setting the controls comes when you first get access to your tent and handler. From the tent, navigate to post/join quest and select settings to customize how you want multiplayer to work. You can determine max quest members, limit it to only players or NPCs, set automatic SOS flares so you can get help as soon as possible, and manage passwords and cross-play. The next important thing to do is start to understand loadouts for items and equipment, as well as the many shortcuts the game gives you. Understanding the navigation bar at the bottom right can be very frustrating at first, so let's begin by setting a simple loadout with key items you need every hunt by going to loadout and then item pouch and selecting the first pre-built one. As you get familiar with the game and your needs, you can set your own loadout here, and whenever you come back from a quest, go into the tent and click the loadout to quickly deposit all your harvested items and replenish your needed consumables in one click. From this same loadout screen, you can preview equipment loadouts, and this will come in handy for endgame. But right now, go to controller shortcuts and see what you have. When you exit the tent, you can customize radial menu to change what you need on the basic menu mid-hunt. For example, if you set Auto SOS, you can remove the SOS button that comes default and replace it with something else you want, such as the world map or a group heal or defensive item. I recommend playing on controller even on PC, so I'll make suggestions that reference a PlayStation controller, but we will also show Xbox inputs on the screen. Press L1 to bring up your quick action menu. This activates both your predetermined controller shortcut and the bottom right item navigation. For the controller shortcut, pushing the right trigger up, right, left, down will select your quick item to use, such as sharpening or healing. L1 plus D-pad directional changes your shortcut from default to coding, social, or other that you have set, allowing you to interact with those secondary shortcuts. Then there's the item menu on the bottom right. Press L1 and then square or circle to navigate left and right inside it. Then let go of L1 and press square to use the item you've selected. This is weird and complicated, I know, but you'll get used to it. There's also a submenu here for fishing that requires you to equip the fishing rod, meaning you let go of L1 and then press square, and then press L1 again to swap fishing rod baits. Insanity, but it works. Now that you have the control basics, we're ready to explore the world, but my biggest tip for navigation is to make full use of the map's quick buttons. By that I mean open the map with the middle pad, press right on the D-pad, press X to bring up camp list, and quick port. Otherwise, you'll have a horrible time trying to find your camps. You can also use this map menu to filter specific icons of things you want to find, so make full use of it. Monster Hunter Wilds is a treasure trove of secrets and hidden areas easily missed by the auto-run hunter who is letting their secret take them to a quest. While I generally suggest progressing the game before exploring, make sure you do spend time really researching this wonderful world and its ecology. It's quite rewarding. Each area has unlockables for you in the form of camps, materials, monsters, endemic life, and aquatic life. You should navigate the map carefully to find many camp locations, but you will only be able to place a few of them, and if they are in a dangerous zone, they are prone to getting destroyed by roaming monsters. I have a list of best camps to scout and set up on the wiki under the pop-up camps page, so I won't list them here. But you do want to consider not only safety, but also whether it's far from the starting point, if there are special items, gathering, or fishing nearby. The next thing you should do as you explore is keep a keen eye out for small animals and insects moving around. Use your capture net, equip it from the item menu under L1, and aim at everything you can to capture it, including the toads and thunderbugs, fireflies, and vigor wasps. You will also see lizards, butterflies, birds, crabs, and much more. There's even a quest line to take you to find one little crazy guy running for a trophy, so learn to do this as you go along and enjoy the experience. A very convenient thing to know is that you can grapple items from the comfort of your secret. Simply aim at them and press circle to get the item to yourself. The same thing goes for fishing, and it can be a rather frustrating experience. You'll have to fish to get specific items and unlock more lures. The full walkthrough for the fishing quest line is on the wiki, so if you need help, check it out, but the basics of it will be to use the right lure to get your fish. If you don't know what lure, you can try using your net to capture some of the fish, or refer to your in-game aquatic life manual, as this often tells you what to use. You will absolutely get stuck at one point trying to find a gravid bowfin that will simply not bite. I put tips on how to get it on the wiki page if you want, but more than anything, it's a test of your patience and frustration tolerance. From there, you'll be able to get much larger and fun fish that are used for some weapons and armor, so don't forget to fish. Next up on your exploration to do is to kill at least one of every type of small monster you see. This includes the flying small wyverns you can get pods from. Aim at them and press circle to get a pod item. They will fall to the ground, kill them, and loot them to unlock their entry and get their materials. The reason you want to kill one of each is to improve your book understanding of them. You'll want to do this for both low and high rank versions, so make sure you do one of each. For large monsters, you'll see many pop in, and you should always check them out with your binoculars, as it will tell you if they are a crown monster, allowing you to initiate a hunt immediately to get it in your log. A crown is an abnormally large or small monster, and gathering them gets you achievements and titles. If you happen upon one, be a great team player and notify your lobby or fire an SOS, so other people can get the crown too. Lastly, there's the gathering. You'll see many ore, bone, and special gathering locations that give you trade-in materials, special items, and cooking ingredients. Bone and ore should always be gathered a few times per zone, one in low rank and one in high rank, to obtain all the ore and bone for your basic equipment. You should also be on the lookout for sparkly ones, as they give you more items. For other special gathering locations, sometimes you'll be notified there's an upsurge of something, and it will be there for only a limited time. Go get that item, as it will play a role in your trading to obtain unique equipment. That brings us to villagers and trade, so let's have a look at that next. As you progress the game, you'll meet many villagers. Once you're past a certain point in the story, you'll get a notification that someone wants to talk, or notice an exclamation mark over their head. Interact with them as soon as possible to unlock villager trade and later villager material gathering. They are both integral parts of your progression. Trade will allow you to use your special items to buy specific things you can't easily get, and some unique items that allow you to craft villager-style equipment. You unlock more traders as you go, so look around for them or check the wiki page that has a complete list of what's possible. You should also look out for settlement trouble quests, as completing them buffs gathering for that village. You can save it as an investigation to repeat it when it runs out. You will also find a special village of Linians called Wudwud, and if you visit it at night during times of plenty, they will have a big bonfire where you can cook your items, and they will give you special rewards. Trade with them here to get your steak cooked and obtain assorted goodies. The other feature that villagers do for you only after you complete their side quests is gather materials. Each villager will have a different specialization and will be able to get more or less items depending on what you ask. They also will bring some special materials such as sinister cloth like your Palicos would in other games. This is a very important feature, and you should always set and retrieve these materials and the festival materials to maximize your game time away from gather farming. An important note is that you should avoid trading for ingredients unless you have an abundance of special materials. The reason is that the ingredients you get for cooking have rather mild effects and can be quite rare, so you will be mostly cooking from rations for quick health and stamina buff, rather than making fancy honey-coated fish. But there's another reason, and that is the village food, so let's check that out. I am as heartbroken as you are about no cat cookery, but let's get over it for the sake of gameplay and delve into the system that is there. Villagers will invite you to eat and prepare a feast for you at random intervals. These feasts give the most powerful effects and last a full hour. This means if you go to the right village and get Capture Pro as a reward, you'll get extra materials from capturing. Or a specific village may give you insurance, so if you're doing an endgame hunt, then this is one you should get. I personally prefer to capture monsters to end hunts quickly, so the capture meal was my favorite, but there are also carving buffs to be had that can be taken into the endgame boss to maximize drops and get as many things as possible. Azus and Ice Shard Cliffs are my favorite meals. You should learn what all the buffs do and try to focus on the type of hunt that gets the most out of whatever you get from your invitation. And yes, it's all on the wiki of course, so if you want to see, you can just go to the cooking page. Now that you have the basics of the gameplay loop, I want to make some recommendations regarding how to progress through the game. As most veteran players will tell you, you should not waste your time grinding materials for low rank armor, but if you are playing solo and are new, you may spend quite a bit of time before you unlock high rank armor that matters, so it can pay off to have a progression path. Personally, I often follow the same-ish path in all Monster Hunter games with returning gear, so here are my recommendations. First, you should hobby horse the main quest to progress along as much as you can while doing mission quests for NPCs on the side. You can safely ignore most of the optional quests that appear in your log if they don't have a mission attached to them. Second, you start off with the Hope armor. You can almost immediately upgrade it to bone by simply going out on the landscape and gathering some bone piles. You can also quickly craft some Chatacabra set pieces because the first quest gives you materials from it. I stuck with the Chatacabra set until I unlocked the Ingot set, also made with ore. It's very easy to get. You can then randomly craft some parts that you have materials for, so I matched Ajakaran and Uthduna pieces from what my one hunt of them allowed until I unlocked the last low rank set, a rarity for Arkveld set. I made most of this set and improved it a bit with low level armor spheres since its defenses is superior to the first tiers of high rank, and it's very cheap to upgrade in terms of Zenny and sphere points. With 44 defense from my low rank set, it matched Rarity's 6 default Inga Alpha set from high rank, so it was a great carry to just push through the story. If you rather make high rank armor, stick to ore and bone, or go for something like the Death Stench set if you have the Sinister Cloth, as it's very easy to get from trading and mat retrieval. My next high rank armor was the Dober Alpha set. Again, easy to get materials and good defense plus some generic skills. This carried me to the very best armor set in the game. Spoilers begin here, so this is your chance to bow out if you don't want to know. The Guardian Arkveld set should be your next craft, and I chose Beta since I wanted to put more decorations, and this will likely be your endgame armor. Of course, if you're making a specialized build for your weapon, you may opt for one of the many other options, but this set is an all-arounder that anyone can use and features the highest defense in the game. It's not easy to get, and you'll have to farm endgame tempered monsters to get materials for it, but each piece you buy will buff your defense so much, it's very noticeable. Weapon-wise, I can only advise on the longsword, so here is my path. I went to the ore tree from Expedition Path because of easy materials, and then crafted Rompo and Hirabami because the main quest hunts gives you enough. For high rank, I made Guardian Fulgur sword because I found them easy to kill, and then went for the Guardian Arkveld tree until I got the rare 8 sword that is simply glorious, and my go-to for the whole game now. You unlock talismans and decorations. You can do what you like, but I prefer to have higher defense as I'm a YOLO player, so defensive talismans and defensive decorations, it is for me. Of course, having Part Breaker will improve your hunting efficiency, so it's a must in my opinion, but other than that, go for what makes sense for your build. With that simple progression out of the way, we get to the end game of Monster Hunter, which is mostly about finding rare endemic life, fishing for giant squids, and killing tempered monsters to get gems, decorations, and the new Ardean weapons. Let's look into that a bit. You may be wondering why I'm touching on Endgame in a beginner guide, and it's simply because I feel like the game is better experienced if you go through it knowing what your goals are and how Endgame will play out. I dislike getting to Endgame and seeing I unlocked a bunch of features that made a task much easier, and I wasted my time doing it at low level where it took longer. So for that reason, I want everyone to know what's coming. As I said above, spoilers, so don't stick around if you don't want to know. Your endgame loop will mainly focus on finding the right hunts to optimize your equipment. You may have marked items in your wish list, and this makes special notifications for when monsters that have your items spawn, and highlight when you get those items. It's very convenient, so I recommend you use the wish list fully to set clear objectives for your hunts. Your wish list would typically contain your endgame armor, talisman upgrade, a main weapon, and some backup weapons with other elements. From my view of the trees, your backup weapons will most likely be Ardean weapons, so you'll want to spend a lot of time going into Rare 8 Ardean drop hunts and getting special ore materials to meld upgrades for them. Ardean weapons work by combining your quest rewards of parts of a weapon to create many elemental variations of an endgame weapon that have 3 level 3 decoration slots, making them very powerful once upgraded if you have good decorations for them. You'll spot monsters with guaranteed gems. Make sure you save as investigations so you can redo these later and stock up on these. You should do this for any quest that has lots of decorations, Ardean drops, etc. The higher level the quest, the better the drops in general, so you'll be chasing those tempered arc builds and such. Since decorations can have double effects, having backup weapons makes farming more rewarding as you are farming decorations for multiple weapon elements and customizing multiple loadouts. If you find yourself aimless at this point and you haven't done it yet, it's time to look into cooperative play. Multiplayer is an integral part of Monster Hunter, so dive into it full on with link parties with friends, passwords, and clans. We have a Extra Life clan with cross-play that allows you to see other people's quests and jump in to enjoy being helpful while hunting for monster crowns and achievements. Make sure to customize your hunter profile with many fun poses, backgrounds, and braggadocious metal display available, and snoop on other hunters to see what builds people are trying out. And that's it for our beginner and progression guide for Monster Hunter Wilds. As always, we've made an expansive wiki and set out every weapon, armor, monster, material, and all possible data around them, but you can always jump in and help edit other details. We also have guides for all weapons coming out now and working on progression builds and tips for all weapons as well. Whether you're new or you're returning to the series, I hope you have a great time with this game, and I cannot wait to see you in Monster Hunter Wilds.